The Bobby Brown Show is the place to be. We talk about freedom and liberty, faith, life, and walking in victory. From politics to movie reviews, biblical teaching to the latest in the news. The Bobby Brown Show is the place to be. The Bobby Brown Show is the place to be. The Bobby Brown Show is the place to be. Share,
like and share.
Like and share.
Hit the notification bell. Welcome to the Bobby Brown Show. I'm your humble host, Robert Bob TV Brown. You know me as Bob TV.
The Bobby Brown Show.
Most of the world know me as Robert Brown, Bobby Brown, or Bobby Beautiful is my musical hashtag name. And we got a lot of things we're going to talk about today. So make sure you hit that notification bell. And make sure you like, share, and share with everybody on your social media space, because we're going to talk about The View today. And we're going to talk about one person in particular, and that's Sunny Houston. Recently, Sunny Houston went on, I guess it's called Ancestry, with Professor Gates, to go over her family tree, her bloodline, the bloodline. And before I get into this, let me hit this. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statutes that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. All opinions expressed by the program participants are solely their current opinion and do not reflect the opinions of Robert Brown, myself, or the Bob TV network. We do promote our First Amendment rights, no matter if I agree or not. The program participant opinions are based upon information they consider reliable, but it is up to you. It is your responsibility to fact check on your own. And my advice is don't fact check through fact checking organization. Do your own research. So, Sunny Houston goes on Professor Gates' program, and she found out some disturbing news. Let's get into this.
In the 1940 census for Columbia County, Georgia, we saw Mary listed as a 7-year-old girl, living with 4 siblings and her mother, Lily Mae Green, in the home of her mother's parents. But one significant figure was notably absent.
Who was missing?
Lily Mae was the mother of all those children.
Right.
Who's the father?
Oh. Yeah. Because she's 25, but living at home.
Right.
With her parents.
With
all those kids.
all those kids.
Very understanding parents.
Yeah.
I guess, unless they were all on a farm together somewhere.
Well, your grandmother Mary's father is not listed. Do you know anything about him?
No.
Okay.
Not
Please
at
turn
all.
the page.
Oh, boy. I'm scared to turn.
Now, she's scared to turn the page because you don't know what's down your bloodline. You don't know what kind of person that came out of your family line and how it could affect your mentality too. But let me keep going.
Turn the page, okay.
Mary's father was a man named Robert Cummings, and by the time the 1940 census was recorded, Robert had left his family, never to return. We believe that he and Lily may have separated sometime after 1937, when their 5th child was born.
So how do you imagine their split affected your grandmother Mary? She was just a child. She would have been between 6 and 9.
Well, I know she was very close to her mother. But she didn't talk to me, at least. Maybe she spoke to my dad. She didn't speak to me much about her father. So that's pretty telling.
Yeah.
Now, she's going through the lineage of her father in this particular video. And you're going to find out some things about her father, some things that Sunny don't like.
You heard anything about Robert's life
No.
after the split?
No.
Please turn the page.
Feels like I'm about to learn something.
This is his draft card. Would you please read the
Oh,
transcribed
wow.
section?
Robert Willie Cummings, age 37, address Augusta, Richmond, Georgia. Person who will always know your address, Estella Hadley. Place of employment, Bell Aircraft Camp Gordon, Augusta, Richmond, Georgia.
You're looking at your great-grandfather's World War II registration card. By the time this was
Wow.
recorded, Robert had moved to Augusta, and unfortunately, this is the last record we have of him, and we don't know what happened to him after 1942.
So her dad was in the military. Her great-granddad was in the military, and they have no record of what happened to him after that. Did he survive the war? Who knows? And it's a mystery surrounding her father, but that's not the point of this particular broadcast.
What have you heard from your grandmother? What kind of relationship did she and her siblings have with Robert following their parents' split?
I
Not
don't
a word?
recall her ever saying anything about it. No.
Well, even though we can't trace Robert forward, we can trace Robert backwards in time.
Okay.
Our search led us to what was known as Morrow Precinct, a tiny, unincorporated hamlet in Columbia County, Georgia. Here we found Robert as a young man and discovered that he, too, grew up without a father.
Cummings Mandy, race, black, age 55, single, place of birth, Georgia, occupation, farmer, general farm. Robert W., son, race, black, age 15, place of birth, Georgia.
There's your great-grandfather Robert at just 15 years old in the household of his mother, your great-great-grandmother, Mandy Cummings. Have you ever heard of her?
Never. Wow.
Mandy, her proper name was Amanda, was born sometime between 1869 and 1871. And as you can see, Amanda is listed as single on that census.
Yes.
Your great-grandfather Robert's father is not listed in the household.
That's a pattern.
Unfortunately, at this time, we are unable positively to identify Robert's father.
Now, she's finding out, going back in her legacy, she's finding out the family from that side. She come from a black lineage on one side. And here's the proof.
Amanda never appears to have been married.
That is a pattern,
Right.
which is crazy because I have such a great dad. And I think he wanted to make sure to break this cycle. I think that was important to him.
This story was about to take a surprising turn. Moving back one generation from Amanda, we came to her father, a man named Dean Harris.
Now, mind you, when you got a name like Harris, it can get a little muddy in the water a little bit, kind of like Kamala Harris' father. She's talking about the pattern of men and what they had, what the men were doing with their lives, and a lot of it was because of oppression, depression, and Jim Crow, and still slavery, and have a slavery mindset. A lot of the men were separated from the wives, even at times when they had a family. That male would get separated from the family and be sold off to another slave owner. Even when it comes to sharecropping, oftentimes the men had to leave the household to go out and work, and occasionally came back and give money to the spouse, or they sent money to the spouse. But let me keep going.
Dean is Sonny's third great-grandfather. He was likely born into slavery in Columbia County, Georgia, around 1835. And sometime after emancipation, he adopted the surname Cummings. But that's not all he did.
Personally appeared before me this 15th day of July, 1867. Dean Harris, who makes oath as follows: I, Dean Harris, do solemnly swear in the presence of Almighty God that I will faithfully support the Constitution. And obey the laws of the United States, and will, to the best of my ability, encourage others so too. Signed, Dean X. Harris, sworn to and subscribed before me, register of the 25th Registration District. Did he vote?
He registered to vote.
Wow.
And back then, that's the only way you can get some kind of leverage when it comes to fighting for your rights is to register to vote, because you want to try to get people in office that's going to be more lenient toward the descendants of slaves, one that may cater toward the descendants of slaves, knowing of the injustices and wanting to make right wrong. And that's when he came in. Now this is Sonny Houston's great-great-grandfather, and this is part of her lineage. So you can kind of see why these things are personal to her, and she kind of go off the wall when it comes to these personal matters, when it comes to the issue of legislating and voting.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
Wow.
Way back then, he registered to vote.
Now you got me crying. That's amazing. In 1867 to register to vote.
And he couldn't even write his name. The X, he signed
He signed
the
in
document
an
with
X.
an X.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing.
Now, as one part of her family, now we go to another area of Sonny, where it's revealed to her another side of her family. Just give me a moment. Let me pull that up, because I don't think I got these in order. Don't have them in order for some reason.
In a case like this, it was
Okay. Let me see if I can find. I thought I had these in order. Nah. All right, so we're going to go to this episode of Finding Your Roots on The View. Whoopi began to talk about what she discovered in her life through her roots, through her lineage.
We're starting a little differently this morning. Sonny, you were just on an episode of Finding Your Roots with Henry Louis Gates Jr.
was. Yeah.
And he
Now, before I go there, let me go here to the short and let you see what happened on this short.
Check out this video of Sonny Houston of The View finding out on Finding Your Roots that her ancestors were white.
Wow.
One side.
I'm a little bit in shock. I just always thought of myself as, half Puerto Rican. I didn't think I was, my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
So question, since you're so pro-reparation.
Now, we're going to leave. She's not pro-reparations. Get out of here, dude. And I got a problem with you. But let's go here. So she find out through her roots that her side of the family, she had some slave owners. Sonny actually thought her roots were Puerto Rican. Even then, even if it was Puerto Rican, how did Puerto Ricans come to manifestation? Well, it was the Spaniards, mainly the conquistadors, that traveled down from Spain, and they colonized Puerto Rico. They named the land Puerto Rico. They brought slaves there. Yet, there were some natives there too. So between the slaves and the natives, just like in the United States, there was an ethnogenesis of a new species of being because of the cross relationships between the white Spaniards, because Spaniards are white, they're Europeans, black slaves, and the indigenous people that was already in that land. Now you got to understand there were dark-skinned indigenous people that inhabit all the lands of the world. They were considered to be the first people. But let me get into this and let Whoopi confront Sonny on this particular topic.
He gave me some surprising revelations about my family history. You know, I was really reluctant. I don't know how you felt when you did it, Whoopi, but I was really reluctant to do it because I just sensed that there could be something in my family history that would be disappointing.
Negative.
Negative, yes. I thought I was going to have that kind of moment. And Skip had asked me to do it for a long time. And I finally decided to do it because I thought it'd be helpful for my children and my children's children to know what their real history was, you know? But what I found out was that my mother's family, while they are Puerto Rican, they actually originate from Spain. And the reason that they moved to Puerto Rico is because the slave trade had been sort of canceled in Spain and then Curacao, and then they moved all of their slaves to Puerto Rico. And so the family business, I had been told that they were printers and journalists, but they were in fact enslavers. And my mother, so
A hush fell over the
it
audience.
was deeply disappointing. And it's deeply disappointing because my mother really identified as Puerto Rican.
Because she come from the land of Puerto Rico, but she was really a Spaniard. Now, mind you, this is her mother's side of the family. What we went over was her father's side of the family. Black roots go all the way back to slavery. And now we find out about her mother's side of the family. White roots, white Latino roots. Majority of Latinos are white. Yes, you got some Afro-Latinos, but anybody outside of Afro-Latinos are Caucasian Latinos. They are white Latinos. They even identify as white. You got a lot of people that identify, like a lot of Cubans, a lot of, I mean, you name it. Because the Spaniards came in, they did it in Florida, my homeland. They came to those areas and they colonized those areas and brought slaves with them, especially when they started to abolish the slave trade in those areas early in the days, way before the 1600s. They brought their slaves to a place where they can keep their slaves and continue to build their business off the backs of slaves. And that's where her family did, according to her. That's what her family did. Let's go back and listen to her.
And I finally decided to do it because I thought it'd be helpful for my children and my children's
Yeah,
children.
it's helpful
to
for
know
your
what their
children.
real history was, you know? But what I found out was that my mother's family, while they are Puerto Rican, they actually originate from Spain. And the reason that they moved to Puerto Rico is because the slave trade had been sort of canceled in Spain and then Curacao, and then they moved all of their slaves to Puerto Rico. And so the family business, I had been told that they were printers and journalists.
Family business. That's why she come from, Sunny Houston come from a family line that is pretty well to do. She never went to public high school. She went to private school. So for her to comment on the Department of Education is kind of, you can't comment on a Department of Education. And we can see why she has this brazen attitude toward black Americans. Yes, her father did grow up in slavery, but she didn't know that. She didn't know that. But now it's just in her blood. She got that slave master, slave trader in her blood, where she figured she could talk to black men any kind of way. Yeah, I'm going there.
But they were in fact enslavers. And my mother, so
A hush fell over the
it
audience.
was deeply disappointing. And it's deeply disappointing because my mother really identified as Puerto Rican. She was part of the civil rights movement. And
People always say that, but you got to show me proof. Everybody talk about their parents were part of the civil rights movement. How? You got any evidence of your parents and any kind of civil rights fight, or because they did take pictures back then, civil rights organization passing out flyers? Where are the pictures of those people fighting for those rights? And see, my dad was in Vietnam, so he didn't do that. That was his civil rights fight, you know. But where everybody talking about their parents fought in the civil rights movement, I need to see evidence. I'm not just going to take your word for that. That's just a word. So anybody can say that just to sound like they're down. But Sonny, where's your proof that she fought in the civil rights movement?
she was deeply ingrained in black culture. And
she was deeply ingrained in black cultures. Now, by her father being black, I can see why she was deeply ingrained in black culture, because she married a black man. You can't help but. And I'm quite sure he was ingrained in Puerto Rican culture because he was married to her. Now, look, I got to be truthful. Puerto Ricans and blacks do kind of coexist more than blacks and whites. We have more of a cohesion together, especially here in New York City. But even in Florida, we would. When I was coming up, my best friend was a Mexican, and we gelled together. House full of Mexicans, but I can go over there and chill out. He can come over to my house and chill out, because that's just how it was back in Florida. Florida's known to have Cubans, Mexicans, and Puerto Ricans. We gelled together in some cases, but in some cases there were tensions. You know, you had gangs. You had the Puerto Rican gangs. You had the vice lords and things like that. You know, and the Latin Kings. You know, and they were kind of territorial. So let me get back to Sonny. I'm just running off the cuffs.
Identified herself as black for race, but Hispanic for ethnicity.
Okay.
But her race is white. She's European.
Yeah.
I know. It's
Yeah.
weird because when you look at her, my mother's blonde and she has light eyes, and my whole family.
That's because most Spaniards, most Puerto Ricans, most Dominicans, most Costa Ricans, most of them are considered Latinos, are considered Caucasians by bloodline. Most of them, because of their oppressors, who did what oppressors do: oppress people, manipulate them, use them, rape and pillage them, hoard them, breed them.
Looks like that. So I think inside I sort of knew that this was my history, and that's probably why I didn't want to do it. And I spoke to my mom about it. She was deeply disappointed. She actually cried about it. And then she said, maybe that's why I have been so connected to black culture, because it's an atonement in my spirit. And I received that. I also found out that, and there was.
That ain't gonna work. You was connected to black culture because you like that black soul pole. You like the black soul pole. You like that dog. You like them dog. Hey, a lot of Latino women like black men, and a lot of black men like Latino women. It's just the way it is. But let's be truthful. There was no connection. The connection was the soul pole. The soul pole. Let me keep going.
We're slaves on both sides of our family, mothers and fathers. But we are 7% indigenous Puerto Rican, Taino.
7%? 7%? Tainos? Now let me tell you something. The Tainos didn't look like her. The Tainos was dark-skinned Aboriginal Indians in those neighborhoods. Now, don't get me wrong. They wasn't black, but they had dark skin. And that dark skin mixed in with the white European slave owners or oppressors, and began to mix and have a genocide. I mean, not a genocide, have an ethnogenesis. And this is how you get the current state of the Puerto Rican. You get Afro-Puerto Rican, and you get the white-looking Puerto Rican. There's only two kinds, Afro or the white. And all of those, a lot of them came from the indigenous parts. Let me keep going.
So I'm proud of that. And then
7%. 7%. It's like Kamala Harris saying, I got 7% black in me. That don't make you black, and that do not make you Puerto Rican. You're not Taino. You're white. You're mixed. You're black and white.
I also found out about my father's family. His family, all slaves, then sharecroppers. But once they got their freedom, one of my ancestors, his name is Dean Cummings, and we use, my maiden name is Cummings, and we use the name Dean in our family. A lot of cousins are named Dean. In I have this book of life. Thank you, Skip.
Yeah.
It's very thick. I have an ancestor, my third great grandfather, immediately registered to vote. Even
Now she's trying to get the fact that she's trying to come off the fact that she come from a family of slave owners and focus on a family of voters.
though he was illiterate, and he voted with an X. Dean Cummings with an X, and then he was threatened with lynching by the KKK, by others in the South, and he voted the next
Everybody
year.
was.
The next year, and the next year.
Everybody was.
So he voted 9 times with the threat of lynching, and
Every black person during that time started going through that process. That's nothing special. My family went through that process too. My family went through the threat of lynching, through the threat of the Ku Klux Klan, just like everybody else. Your family probably went through it too. So that's not a hand clap for that. I'm looking at that other side of your family. I'm looking at your real bloodline, the bloodline that came from European blood. I'm looking at that.
you know, they say in Puerto Rico, the blood calls you. And voting is so important to me. You know, you guys know I go to voter drives. I drive seniors to voting polls. I've never missed a vote. My family thinks it's crazy. I'll vote for anything. Local something, constable, I'm there. And I think I get that from my ancestors. I really do. I think you carry your ancestors with you. So it was really eye-opening. So there were good things. There were not so good things. I also found out that on my father's side, the grandfather that I thought I had was not my grandfather. Oh, wow. There was another person.
Kind of finding out, that's what we were finding out about Kamala Harris. That the person you call grandmother was not your grandmother. This other lady was your grandmother, but I digress.
And so we are establishing a relationship with that family, and I have 5 uncles and aunts that I didn't know about. And so that's kind of cool that my kids now, and my father has 5 siblings that he didn't know about. And he's the eldest. So I thought that was great. And the last reveal is that...
Is it who you're really...
You come from slave owners. That's the only reveal I know. Just like Kamala Harris, it's the only reveal I know. But let's let you say it.
related to?
Yes, I have a cousin too, Whoopi. Anthony Ramos from Hamilton.
Oh! He's cute.
Isn't he cute? He is my cousin, and I reached out to him, and it's kind of
So he got slave owners in his family. Girl, that ain't no good news.
cool because he was the youngest actor in the original Broadway play of Hamilton, and he is multi-talented. And I've interviewed him before, but I didn't know we were cousins. I interviewed him for the Puerto Rican Day Parade. I hope that they still let me host the Puerto Rican Day Parade.
Well, you have a little...
Yeah, yeah. See. You might not be hosting the Puerto Rican parade no more with 7%. Taino.
Before, but I didn't know we were cousins. I interviewed him for the Puerto Rican Day Parade. I hope that they still let me host the Puerto Rican Day Parade.
Look at
a
Whippy.
little bit still left in there, right? Is there no Puerto Rican in there at all?
No, I have 7%.
There's 7%.
It's not. 7%.
That's like Elizabeth Warren talking about she's Native American. Girl, you know, sit your behind down. You're a $5 Indian.
And indigenous, but the thing about Puerto Rico is Puerto Ricans are Spanish, they're Native American, and they're African.
Right.
And so my family just happens to have more of the,
You know,
Sonny, how
the
does this
conquerors.
change you, though? You mentioned your mom.
The conquerors, that's right. The conquerors, the conquistadors, slave traders. Folks, I grew up in Florida, and one of our heroes in Florida was Hernando de Soto. And we idolized Hernando de Soto. We had a parade for Hernando de Soto. Our mall was named after Hernando de Soto. We used to wear the conquistador hats and stuff. We thought it was cool, not knowing that this guy was one big slave trader. Boy, the things you know when you dig in your roots. And I remember Sonny Holston saying, let this finish.
Mom was upset, and this was shocking, and maybe deep down you kind of resisted it. How has this changed you, knowing what you're hearing now?
You know, I think at first I was deeply disappointed.
The slave thing is a bummer.
It's a bummer. And
It's a bummer. You probably got some in your family too. Get out of here. Let me get off this, man. Let's get to something else that's more important. Now, you realize that Sonny Holston made that statement about these ignorant black men who voted for Trump. That's talk of a colonizer. That is the talk of a colonizer. Now, this is Sunny Houston Day. We're going to go through some stuff with Sunny Houston today. Recently, you know, she is a little upset because every black man didn't side with Kamala Harris. You're not going to ever get that. And she called her people decent names. But when it comes to black men, she called us stupid. Something like that. It wasn't nice what she called us. Ignorant. She called us ignorant and disappointing black men. But when it came to the Latinos on her side, she didn't call them that. And she figured just because she got some black in her, she could talk like that about us, and she can't. This lady is one of the chief, she is suffering from Trump derangement syndrome badly, very badly. And you couldn't even get the president around her because I believe she'll probably take him out. Her brain has fried. She is baked. Now, let's come to Sunny Houston reacting to Hunter Biden guilty verdict and what she had to say about that.
It was a very easy case to prove, 3 counts. They took 3 hours to deliberate. But in these kinds of cases, somebody filling out a form who is addicted to drugs and lies about being addicted to drugs, about 0.9% of those cases go to trial.
That's 0.9%. It doesn't matter. That is no excuse for Joe Biden to pardon him. It's not the point that he just bought a gun knowing that he's on drugs. You're talking about a guy who father has a security clearance. You're talking about a guy who goes to the White House to meet to his father. Hunter Biden is no normal person. You're talking about a guy who travels around the world, who sits on the board of foreign companies. Hunter Biden. You're talking about a man who's addicted to cocaine and proud of it. He's like your boy on that Denzel movie, Gator. Proud to be on crack. Give him some crack, he started dancing. Start doing the Running Man. Sonny is trying to blow off the fact that Hunter Biden had a laptop with videos of him doing drugs, him whoring around. We don't know what's the link between Burisma, Joe Biden, and Hunter Biden and Ukraine. Burisma is a Ukraine oil company that has ties into all 3 of them. Hunter sat on the board and was getting a check for him, and all he had to do is show up once every 90 days to a board meeting. They just want to have access to Joe Biden. We don't know what's the real reason why we pushing this Ukraine war. I honestly believe this is, and the reason why Joe Biden pardoned him for now and the future is because the investigation going to lead to all of them was tied into this stuff. And Joe Biden probably a preemptive pardon himself, but he's at the age now, by the time they convict him of anything, he'll probably be going on to another land in glory, maybe. And that's not the point. The point is how you pardon your son. I mean, let's keep playing.
Okay, so that in and of itself makes it feel like a political prosecution, but I don't feel that way. I think no one is above the law.
Yes.
He committed a crime, and now he will pay the consequences. I don't think as a first offender and as an addict, because you're always an addict, we all have addicts in our families, whether we want to talk about it or not. I think that a drug diversion program is appropriate. He will.
That man been through every program you can think of, and it still ain't helping him. Hunter Biden likes crack. He don't like these new drugs. He like them old drugs. And he'll find whoever got some, he'll go get it. That's not the answer when it comes to Hunter Biden. The brother need to be locked up just like everybody else. You get caught with crack, and he's gotten caught with crack. His daddy said if you get caught with a little piece of crack, you're going to do 5 to 10. Minimum. 15, I think he said minimum, if you get caught with a little bit of crack. Well, we caught him with a whole lot of crack. And his daddy said, lock him up. Now, he gets this carte blanche, and the brothers in jail don't get carte blanche. Let this keep going.
Will never own a firearm again because
Neither will
he's a
Trump.
felon. Neither will.
You can't stop somebody from getting a firearm. Owning one legally is one thing. He'll be able to get one off the streets. If he can get illegal drugs off the streets, he can get an illegal gun off the streets. So, girl, go ahead with that.
Trump. Yeah. I don't think.
And Trump, they say Trump is a convicted felon. You were indicted in these cases and you're found guilty, but the conviction haven't came yet. So you're not a convicted felon legally wise. According to the state of New York, you're not considered a felon until you actually get sentenced. And Trump haven't gotten sentenced yet. And you look at those counts of that they're charging him, all almost financial crime. It wasn't crack smoking. It was him moving money. It was him and Michael Cohen moving money within his own organization to pay for some poom poom. That his wife, he didn't want his wife or whoever he was messing with at the time. He probably was dating Milana at that time. He didn't want to know, nobody know that he was going to get him something from a porn star. All these was financial crime. One crime that they stacked into 37 counts of money being paid to a sex worker, a porn star. They claim to keep her quiet. You think a porn star running her mouth is gonna affect? Ain't no. I don't understand this. How you think somebody can pay somebody to be quiet about their relationship? You couldn't keep Bill Clinton convict people quiet. You couldn't get Joe Biden convict rape allegations quiet. But here's a woman who they had a mutual relationship together, and he decides to give her some money every now and then. This ain't got nothing to do with crack. Me busting a girl out, I'm sorry. Me getting me something from you and I decide to give you a little money. That ain't the same as going to buy crack and buying a gun illegally. And that ain't the same as being cleared to go into a White House knowing that you smoke crack and buy guns when we have documented that there was some cocaine found in the White House. No, he needed to be prosecuted.
If you're an addict, you should own a firearm.
Yeah.
I think it's a safety thing for yourself and for society. In a case like this, it was a very easy case to prove. 3 counts. They took 3.
It was very easy to prove. Let's keep going. We're talking about Sunny House.
This case is not taking Donald Trump down, and I say that for a couple reasons.
How do you know that?
There was, well, just real quick, there was no conspiracy charge, which a lot of folks were looking to see if there was.
That was a harder charge to prove.
The felony
She's going to tell the truth about Trump charges.
Charges. The max sentence is 4 years, but this is a first-time offender. It's a non-violent crime. It's a Class C felony. Every legal expert I've talked to has said most likely a fine and probation if he's even convicted.
I'll tell you why you're wrong as this legal expert.
Well, you're one legal expert. And see, you're a legal expert that got Trump derangement syndrome. See, this lady hates Trump so much, and I get it. We get a lot of people that hate. I get people who watch the show that hate Trump, and they get mad at me because I don't hate him as much as they hate. I'm not hating nobody. I'm not hating nobody. Maybe the devil and his lies and how he manipulate people and things like that. And I believe we don't wrestle against flesh and blood. We against principality, rulers of darkness, wicked spirits in high places. That's what I believe. Now, she is going to be so wrong on this. Sonny, you're one prosecutor. You probably don't have the ability to prosecute in that type of court. You probably have not had a crime like this to prosecute on, and you're just one person. But let's see her defend her stance on why he needs to be locked up.
Charge to prove.
The felony charges, the max sentence is 4 years, but this is a first-time offender.
Remember, the felony charges are financial crimes about Trump taking his money and breaking old Stormy Daniels off because she broke him off. That's what it is. You break me off, I got a little something. And look, you come on now, man. What woman is gonna get with you if she don't expect nothing in return? Especially Stormy Daniels, a famous porn star. And she gonna give you the porn star treatment. You better add up the money. That porn star treatment ain't gonna be cheap. And Trump probably loved it and had plenty of sessions with her. Trump being a sinful man, falling to his desires, going to get a little something from Stormy Daniels. And he just didn't want, I guess he didn't want the money to get traced. When he could just went and got some cash and pay the old girl off. But they trying to take this incident and make it seem like it's a heinous crime. A heinous crime now. And using that as a reason to minimize him and his ability to lead. Buying some, getting some poom-poom from a porn star and breaking her off at, okay, let me stop.
A nonviolent crime. It's a Class C felony. Every legal expert I've talked to has said most likely a fine and probation if he's even
I'll tell
convicted.
you why you're wrong as this legal expert. That is wrong. And I will
He's
tell
not
you,
going to jail over
I will
this.
tell you
He's not
why,
going to jail
I
over
will tell
this.
you why you're wrong. Prosecutors are not only in the business of prosecuting crimes, we're in the business of sending out a message.
What's interesting is
You hear that? You're not you don't supposed to prosecute somebody to send a message out to other people. Now, Trump writing that letter out to during the Central Park Five Boys exonerated Five Boys situation. That letter was a message to anybody. It wasn't directly to attack the Central Park Five Boys, but it did include the Central Park Five Boys. That if anybody come into this area, come into my city, and our nice parks, our nice quiet park, and let me tell you something. Back then, muggings was huge. You had the back in them days, you had the guardian angels walking up and down Central Park, protecting women, being a presence, the police department being a presence, and vigilantes out there being a presence, because people were getting mugged, people were getting mobbed. That was during the height of the crack era, and people trying to get money to buy crack and everything, and cocaine too. So you had people out there doing foolish stuff. So when this situation happened, where this woman came to enter her life of dying, Trump put out the letter, say, hey, if you're gonna come, if you're gonna be doing this, they need to bring. If this person dies, you come around here and you harm our citizens, and they die, you need to die. That wasn't directly to the Central Park Five Boys. That was a message of his. That was a message to anybody in New York. It don't matter whether white, yellow, black, white, red. It don't matter to Trump, and he said it in the letter. But because it came at a time, they released it at a time after the boys confessed, people assumed he wrote that to the boys, and there's no proof that he did. There's no proof. Nobody can prove it. And even the news people, even the New York Times, have a timestamp of when they got that letter. And they know they got that letter way before Trump, way before them boys confessed to the crime, even before those boys got, arraigned. He had that mentality concerning what was going on, because there were horrible things going on in New York before this incident happened. She's trying to say that we'll prosecute somebody just to send a message. Then you're wrong in your justice. You don't use an individual to send a message for justice. You don't. You don't take a small crime and elevate it to a crime of a high crime of violence or just to appease yourself. Now, I'm not a Rick Rubin guy, but he's right on this situation.
He's saying that you should prosecute to send a message. Now, that's interesting, because now I would say, and I think most people who believe in equality under the law believe that you should be prosecuting based on the laws that are on the books. So if you, I don't know, let's say murder somebody, everyone who murders somebody should be treated equally under the law, and you should have to prove that they did it.
This case is not taking Donald Trump.
You got to prove that they did it, and then you prosecute them. I mean, then you convict them. And in that conviction comes your sentence. And with that sentence, you can get anywhere between manslaughter charge, life in prison, the death penalty in some states, who knows. But you don't just say we're going to lock them up just to send them a message on money going to a prostitute lady. But this is Sunny Houston. This is a lady who got Trump derangement syndrome. Let's go over here to Sunny Houston.
How could you nominate someone with allegations of child trafficking trafficking across state lines?
Because they're allegations, lady. Anybody can claim you did something, don't mean that you did, and doesn't they out, and you got to have proof. See, we're in an era now where people think, well, if I can just allege that you did it, if I can put that there in the media and stay on that allegation and have people judge you on the allegation, maybe you'll sit down and not run. See, they thought that was going to happen with Trump, that we're going to bring all these allegations against Trump to the point where Trump is going to bow down and bow out. No, Trump is New Yorker. New York's, there's one thing I know about New Yorkers, they don't bow out. They're fighters. You ain't going to push them. They're going to push back harder. It's just a New York thing, and I've learned this from my New York brothers. You don't think you're going to get over them, because that's just going to egg them on, and that's why I didn't like Obama giving Trump all that attention. I'm like, yo, Lee, don't feed into this mess, Obama. You're going to edge this guy on, and he going to run for office. You're going to be the reason why he ran. And then at the same time, the Clintons was already edging him on to run anyway. But you joking this man, this is not the man you joke. Because he's an egomaniac. And he's a narcissist just like anybody else. And look, we got narcissists in our family. Narcissism is just a mentality, and sometimes it can be a disease that need to be trained or need to be managed. You know, and we're going to run into narcissist people. They just need to know how to manage their narcissism, or we're going to have to know how to manage ourselves dealing with their narcissism. But here's Sunny Hostin saying alleged. That's the key word. They're alleged. Why am I going to drop out of a race because you come up with some cockamamie story? It could be true, it could not be true, but you got to prove it.
Don't go there.
My understanding, further on in the interview, they discussed the fact that once he finds out that she's 17, he stops having sex with her.
You're on thin ice, counselor.
That's your understanding, but there's no proof of that. You got to have proof. People can make up anything on you. And it's just a he say, she say, and what the public gonna believe. And if you got people who are hooked up and doped up on The View, they're gonna believe your point of view. But most of America not hooked up and doped up on The View. Matter of fact, a lot of us see you guys as a bunch of cackling old ladies that just do nothing but gossip and lie. So we don't believe you when you talk about it. We want to, but we know your record.
Deeply disturbed at the lack of judgment that we are already seeing from the president-elect.
A few moments later.
You get in trouble, you get in trouble.
Matt Gaetz has long denied all allegations, calling the claims, quote, invented.
It looks like you're in a hostage video.
And saying in a statement to ABC News that this false smear following a 3-year criminal investigation should be viewed with great skepticism. That DOJ investigation was closed with no charges being brought.
That's gotta hurt.
How could you nominate someone?
And see, it's getting to the point now where MSNBC or ABC is like, look, you got to stop doing this. You're putting out false allegations. You have no proof of this stuff. You have no evidence. You have allegations. And we're not going to use this network to do allegations. You're not going to use this platform to do allegedly. We ain't going to do that. Not here. And every time you do that, we're going to correct you, and we're going to have you come up there and eat humble pie. And she's done it quite a few times because she don't know how to control her mouth. She hates the Republicans and she hates Trump to a point where they'll say anything to plant doubt in your heart about any support. And they got some people on the left, on the right that does that too, but not to this level. Not to this level. You got people like Ben Shapiro and all this. They lie too, but not to this level. This is blatant out, just running your mouth on something that you have no proof about. That's Sunny Hostin. Let me keep going. Sunny Hostin Day. Well, this is from TYT. Sunny Hostin accused Another Latino, black Latino, he claimed to be black Latino, Coleman Cruz. He's called his Coleman Hughes, his real name Coleman Cruz. And they had a discussion on The View. Sonny accused him of being a pawn of the right. And Coleman Hughes ain't no right person. He ain't never been right. If anything, he's a Democratic suck-up. Now, he probably, like Charlamagne, claimed to be independent. Let me tell you something. A true independent don't loathe both of these parties. I loathe them. I loathe what they represent. I see them as two cult groups. And I only vote on individuals. I look at their record, past, present, and future. Look at their vision for America, vision for the local neighborhoods, and I'm voting on you based on that, nothing else. I don't give a crap about your title. I give a crap about you, the person, your name. What's your name like, dude? That's what I care about. How's your name in these streets? She actually going to sit here and accuse Coleman Hughes of being used by the right.
Many in the black community, if I'm being honest with
you, can't speak for many in the black community because you lean more on your Latino side, your Puerto Rican, 7% Puerto Rican side than anything. You can't speak for real black people. When I say real black people, my mama black, my daddy black. My mama black, my daddy black. That is a real black person to the core. You're mixed. You're biracial. And that should be your title. I'm a biracial person. I'm black and this. I'm white and this. You're biracial. That I'm telling you, the terms need to be stick to the truth. If you have a white daddy and a black mama, used to be called biracial. If you have a mixture of some everything, you should be called interracial. But if you black, your daddy black and your mama black, you should be the rightful person to be called black. And she's going to sit there and speak for black people.
you, because I want to be, believe that you are being used as a pawn by the right and that you're a charlatan of sorts.
He's not a Republican. I don't think there's any evidence I've been co-opted by anyone, and I think that's an ad hominem tactic people use to not address really the important conversations.
That's because she got Trump derangement syndrome. Now, I'm no fan of Coleman Hughes. Even a broken clock is right twice a day, right? Look at her. She mad because there's another black man who's not siding with Kamala Harris in public. Now, he may side with her in private, but they expect everybody to be public about who they support. It ain't none of your business who I support. None. At all. It's none of your business who I support. But she's trying to get a support out. Look at her. Look at her face. She hates a black man who's not lock and stock barrel with the Democratic Party. She look at them like a Nazi would look at a Jew. Hatred.
We're having here.
Political author and analyst Coleman Hughes was recently met with some intense hostility. Culture actually important.
Now, I'm not going to go into her. I got my problem with her either. But the point is, Sonny, who are you to talk for us? You got to stop that, Sonny.
I mean, I think all of...
Then, Sonny, come up here. And we got Killer Mike on the show. And let's hear what Killer Mike had to say.
An amplify marginalized album pointed.
Let me see.
About it.
Yeah. Nothing short of a masterclass in grace,
shout out to Woke
resilience,
Culture,
and unshakable authenticity.
Subscribe to him.
Stay tuned to see how it all unfolded.
Oh,
listen.
I'm a former prosecutor.
Yeah.
And
former. Why are you former,
and
Sonny? Why are you former? Let's go see why Sonny Houston is a former prosecutor. Sonny Houston. Why is she a former prosecutor? Let's look her up in Wikipedia. Why is she a former prosecutor? What caused her to be a former prosecutor? She began her television career in court TV. Okay, that's probably why she got into the TV stuff. And she probably quit being a prosecutor. All right, so being a former prosecutor doesn't mean you're current. And laws change. And you got to be up to date on the laws, and the ability to legislate on those laws or take people to court over those laws change. So you being a former prosecutor, you can't speak as a prosecutor today because you're not a prosecutor today. I don't want to hear nothing from a former prosecutor. I don't like former prosecutors, and I don't want one to be leading too much of nothing of power. I'd rather have the activist than a prosecutor. You can't be a prosecutor and an activist, Sonny, but Sonny tried to claim to be both. You can't be both. You're a prosecutor, and you're getting ready to prosecute this guy, black guy, just like you did Coleman Hughes. You just can't stop.
Some other headlines that came out. I was very upset about it.
Yeah.
Because it was unnecessary, and you don't do that on that special night.
Yeah.
Especially for what I read about.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to ask you is, there was an incident at the Grammys. It led to you being taken out in handcuffs and arrested. That was wrong. Obviously, it's an ongoing legal matter, so I don't know how much you can say about it.
Well, as a prosecutor, you know I can't say it.
You can't.
See, you should know that. You should know that, lady. You should know that.
Just take that from it.
Isn't it shocking how...
You just can't do that. Now, I'm trying to get to...
Brian Kemp, I have whoever was my hope. Well, first of all, I think everyone should...
And you got you campaigned.
Was nothing...
You campaigned for your home state Democratic senators Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff.
Yep.
Yeah, and you got some attention recently for being somewhat critical of President Biden, saying you weren't ready to endorse him yet. What's your holdup there?
Was my hope. Well, first of all, I think everyone should focus on hyper-local. We get caught up in the soap opera of federal elections, and that's fine. But if you are concerned with the federal election, you don't know who your city council or your wardsman is, you don't know who your mayor is, and you don't have a good list of state representatives or governor, then you're just a part of whoever wins the Super Bowl or fanfare. So my most important election is going to be in about a year and a half for who's my mayor going to be. I think that Andre Dickens is doing a great job around housing in Atlanta, and I don't want that to be lost. Even though we have a Republican governor, Brian Kemp, I have a good relationship with him. I like what he's done in terms of Georgia business. We've been leading business amongst all states.
Want the effects of Viagra, but fast?
All right. Fair use.
Years, and he brought back the Hope Scholarship and expanded it. So if you're a kid in Georgia, you're poor, you got a B average, you can go to college for free or trade school. So in my community, girls are going to college, but boys don't have anywhere to go, and they're not choosing to. In my community, I have a push for trades. That's why I support organizations like Georgia Youth Build. I support organizations like Next Level Boys Academy, because they usher out boys. I need my daughters to be able to marry somebody.
Right.
So, and even in that case, I have said, okay, this governor's doing a good job. In terms of nationally, I'm just kind of doing what my grandfather said, staying out of white folks' business and watching what happens.
The question aimed at...
Now, this is talk that Sunny Houston don't want to hear. She wants you to publicly say that you support Kamala Harris. But that's her problem. That's her problem. And she don't think that you can really work with people that you may be in contention with. Gone are the days, and they're coming back. They're going to have to come back in order to keep this country. We have to come back to the time where we stop villainizing each other. We stop looking at Republicans as the devil and stop looking at Democrats as the devil. Because in my opinion, I can look at both of them as the devil, because both of them are too occultish about their side of the aisle. And they manipulate, they play mind games and tricks on people. And look what they done to Sunny Houston. Look what they done to Whoopi Goldberg. Look what they done to, I could go through a host of people that have Trump, Joy Reid. These people are out of their freaking minds. The way the Democratic Party has manipulated their mind about this guy, all because he beat Hillary Clinton, and now he beat Kamala Harris. Folks screaming, beating themselves up in the car, pulling out their hair. That was manipulation. That was the Democratic Party brainwashing you to hate the other side. Yet you got some people on the other side that got you hating the other Democratic side. And both of you need to stop the hate and start focusing on the people of America instead of positioning in power. This power is supposed to go to the people. And let me try to continue this with The View. This is the last.
And Alyssa Farah
This is a couple days ago.
Did he talk like a fascist?
A loving bunch. This is a So let's tell you what's going on in the world. As a lot of Americans figure out how to handle the next 4 years, tech multi-billion.
You don't have to figure out. Do what you've been doing and trust God. Stop making this complicated. It ain't that complicated. Trump is just a man, just like Joe Biden is a man. He's going to do he's going to shock us with doing some good things, and then he's going to shock us with doing some bad things. Why? Because they're man. Like the commercial for the bearskin rug said, you're a man. They're men. And if a woman was in that position, it's the same thing. They're going to make mistakes. They may shock us by doing something good, but they're going to do some things bad too, and we just got to know how to adjust when it happens. Be prepared, because nobody's perfect. How we got to adjust to the next 4 years. I ain't got to adjust. Get up, go to work, eat, do my job, go home, come up here and try to do some content, write some music, and you know, that's it. That's my life. It's boring.
Billionaires Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg say they're going to work with incoming administration. And earlier this month, MSNBC's Joe Scarborough and Minka Brzezinski responded to all the backlash over their trip down to see you-know-who at Mar-a-Lago.
She can't even say his name. That's how prejudiced and racist. When you can't invoke somebody's name, you act like the man named Candyman. His name is Donald Trump. Stop giving this man power over you. You can say his name. You think you're taking away power by not saying his name, taking away power from him? No. You're showing how idiot and stupid you are. That you so butthurt that you can't even say his name. Same thing with the Roland Martin. He's going to be the president again, just like Joe Biden was president. I called you Biden. That's the country way of saying Joe Biden. I called you Biden, President Joe Biden. He's going to be President Donald Trump or President DT. And you just got to get over it. You stop standing in a position of resistance and stand in a position of how you can best make this moment work for America, and stop focusing on that man.
Take a look.
You will be smarter, and you have been over the last several weeks, because of what we talked about with Donald Trump for an hour and a half. We got information on where they're going. And
now, not for nothing, this is all bull crap. Old Thumbhead and his wife, he looked just like that Thumb cartoon. Him and his wife is trying to act like they were tough on Donald Trump. I doubt it. They coming back to act like they were tough on Trump, and because they were tough and Trump was tough on them and they were tough on Trump, they came to an agreement. I doubt it.
I do report that, just like great reporters at the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, Financial Times, just like they do it. And again, yet to talk to a journalist said, oh, you shouldn't talk to the president on background. And again, the complaint that we said he was a fascist, that he talked like a fascist, yeah, he did during the campaign. Guess what?
How? Where? When? How? He talked like a New Yorker. Mouth almighty, tongue everlasting, big mouth, mouth too big for the britches. That's how New Yorkers talk. Talk a big game. Some of them can back it up, some of them can't. That's just New York. That ain't got nothing to do with fascists.
We're watching.
Guess what? That means it's even more important we go there.
The meeting that we went to was not kissing the ring or bending the knee or all your other ridiculous headlines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. I can imagine. Trump said, yeah, let him come. I'm gonna put him up in a nice room at Mar-a-Lago, treat him good. He probably gave y'all the best of whining and dining and had y'all feeling like kings. and it broke you down, and you couldn't be as angry as you wanted to be. Don't come up here trying to have us thinking that this is what you gave Trump. You didn't give Trump that.
It was a serious meeting, and quite frankly, if we hadn't told anyone about it, if we hadn't shared it with our viewers to be transparent, and that was our call because it was a meeting on background, nobody would have known about it. Nobody would have. We weren't flouncing in there and doing a big show of it. This was a private meeting on background.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Segment's over.
Yes, apparently. So the question is opening a dialogue the best move here?
They doing more than you willing to do. You got a national TV show, and if y'all don't get together, that show gonna be canceled. Now, it's been on a long time. I can live without your show because I don't watch the crap anyway. But you give me content because I know you cackling hens gonna say something cackling henish. And you give me content to talk about.
Well, can I just say Merry Christmas? I'm so excited for this. This is one.
You're a little too happy. You know Sonny ain't gonna like that. Because you reek of Republican. You smell like Republican cologne or perfume. And you can't be in giddy when you got somebody in depression right next to you.
Really strong feelings about, and I actually agree with Mika and Joe. I think as journalists, to cover someone adequately, you have to talk to both the subject and people who support the subject. And Bob Woodward was on our show. He sat down with Donald Trump at length, and then he reports important information we wouldn't have otherwise gotten if he didn't spend months and weeks pursuing those interviews. And a lot of those convos, I don't think people always realize, are on background, or they're even off the record, meaning they can't share all the details, but they can chase things and find stories that he's kind of pushing them to. So I see it as a basic journalism sort of thing that you have to do. And to take it to a really extreme place, and I'm in no way comparing Donald Trump, I also worked in diplomacy. I was at the Department of Defense.
Another job.
Yeah, she's a pretty white lady. I like my ladies black and short. But she all right.
Worked
Well,
at the
same
Department
job.
of Defense, and I also worked for the Vice President. We literally sat down with the Taliban in Afghanistan and we were trying to reach a peace negotiation. The idea that dialogue is a bad thing doesn't matter, doesn't work on the world stage.
Comparing Trump
No,
to the
I'm not.
Taliban.
I would never. But it's just to say the idea dialogue is so important in fraught times, and when people are not saying eye to eye, and I think you absolutely have to have that conversation.
I agree with.
She can compare the Taliban to Trump because the Taliban is worse than Trump. The Taliban has worked with Al Qaeda and Afghan warriors to pretty much do some hard stuff in case murder. You know, they brought Shia law to that area and oppressed the people of Afghanistan. So you're trying to, if you can negotiate with those people and talk sense with those people and try to work out something with those people, why you can't do that with a man who haven't did these things to people? Because nobody can tell me what Trump has done to black people, let alone white people. He probably didn't legislate to your capacity. He probably didn't act like a Democrat. And like I said, the reason you hate him is because he beat Hillary Clinton. He did nothing personally to me. He probably did nothing personally to you. And what have he done to us as a group? You know, let's be honest about this. And we can't go talk to this guy? Now, I don't think Trump is the smartest guy in the world. You know, he's a businessman, and he has been successful in business, still successful to this day, even though they're trying to spin a narrative that he's not. He's still successful. Probably still doing well. He's still in the blue. I mean, he's still in the blue. What's blue or green? Still in the blue and profit. And his family is taking over the business. Even though he had to take his name off a lot of the properties for safety's sake. Still making money. Hotels still doing good. Resorts still doing good. Golf courses still doing good. Now, for as president, only God can work through that man, because I don't think he can hold the office on his own mentality. So I gotta trust that God is gonna work through him, and according to what I've heard, he's trusting God too. And can you trust a God as a big mouth, loud mouth, vile, always over talking people sinner? You ain't got no choice but to. What else you got? Let me keep going.
With that to some extent, I do. And Bob Woodward never sat down with Nixon, just FYI. And he reported on Nixon
Yeah,
from
thank
an
God for Deep Throat.
from an objective point of view.
Right.
But
That's
the
legitimately
problem
the source.
people are
Sorry.
Deep Throat.
That's
yeah.
why history is important to know, y'all.
That's right. It turned out Deep Throat
Yeah.
was
I was
in
getting
the
reactions for different reasons.
I know, but he was in
Yeah, Bob Woodward couldn't talk to Richard Nixon because Richard Nixon was a suspect at that time. When he was, come on, people, you can't bring that in there. You know, we're talking about Bob Woodward talking to Trump. This ain't Nixon. Nixon was a suspect, so he can't just go in there and talk to him like that unless he has a wire on him. And Nixon continued to trust him, but we're not going to get into that.
FBI agent. But I think the problem that people are having with it is that there's a certain feeling that they're normalizing him, and he's not normal.
He is normal. He is no different from you or anybody else. He may be bombastic. He may be brash, and y'all don't like it. But at the end of the day, he piss and poop just like me and you. He gets sick just like me and you. He is not a god. He is not a deity, and he can easily fall like anybody else. And he will fall. And if he don't get his act together and do what God called him to do in that position, he may fall, period. God may have to come in. That's why I trust God in these situations, not you guys and anybody else.
He's not. He's a very unusual case. He's a TV.
You was not saying that back in the day when that man was on your show. You're saying that all this stuff arrived from him beating Hillary Clinton. Because they loved Trump at that time, but they were in love with Hillary. Hillary was the girl, the golden girl. Hillary, this is her destination. This is her, oh yes, this is her goal. This is her dream. This is her destination. This is God's will for her. She was called for this. And Trump beat her. And they're better. Here it is. Over 10 years later, they're still bitter. Still bitter.
TV talk show host, whatever it was, that show he did.
The Apprentice.
Yeah, that's it.
You know what show it was, lady. It was #1 show for 3 years. Stop, Joy. Trump derangement syndrome, man. You can't be truthful and be honest and still say, I don't support that guy. Be truthful and honest. This is why people are not watching you guys, because you're lying, and everything you're telling us, we see it as a lie. You obfuscate, you deflect.
And he became a president based on a lot of lies. So I don't think that.
How he became president based on a lot of lies? What was the lies that caused him to be president? Y'all threw everything at him. Once he became the nominee of the Republican Party, y'all threw all kind of stuff at this guy. P-tape, all kind of stuff, all kind of lies, all the kind of false accusations. You couldn't prove it. It got thrown out in the court of law. You impeached him on some of the stupidest things. And him being being him, not refusing to quit, saying y'all ain't gonna get me like that. At the end of the day, I'm gonna get y'all. And this is what you don't like, and I get it. I don't like it either. You throw everything at a person, he still keep coming at you. He's not quitting.
It's just that they're going down to talk to him like they talk to the Taliban. I don't think so.
But
You hear yourself? Going to talking to the Taliban is not normalizing the Taliban. Going to talk to Trump ain't nowhere near as hard as going to talk to the Taliban. This lady.
And by the way, I have a personal thing about this, because when George W. Bush was in the White House, I knew that if I had a beer with the guy, I would like him. I knew it. And so I didn't want to have a beer with him. Because I had things to say about George W. Bush that were critical of him.
And why you can't go say it in his face? You scared? You scared he's going to charm you? And that's the reason why you want to go see Trump, because you're scared Trump is going to charm you, that you might actually like Trump? Or is it that you liked Trump before and now you hate that you've actually liked him in the past because you don't want to like him now, and that's eating you up?
If I had sat down with the guy, I would feel maybe I can't anymore. You see, that's my problem with Morning Joe.
The thing is, you can sit down as a journalist with a subject without traveling to Mar-a-Lago and having a meeting off the record, having a meeting on background after having said all of these things.
Yeah.
And you can go down to Mar-a-Lago, meet the person face to face, and have a sit down and talk with that person and tell them what you think of that person. And not be afraid to do it. You can do that. Face to face is always better. And then you can bump fists, shake hands, hug or whatever, and leave because you got your point of view across. Doing it over a text isn't as effective as doing it in person. Telling somebody I love you by text ain't the same as telling somebody I love you in person.
I think the reason that the First Amendment,
to it.
That's true. I think the reason that the First Amendment is the very First Amendment, which is freedom of the press and freedom of speech, is because it is the fourth estate. It is so important to the balance of power in our country. We, any journalist, has to be able to report the facts fairly without fear of retribution and also without fear.
And sometimes you got to report them even if there is a fear of retribution. See, that's what got Julian Assange in trouble. He reported knowing that there's going to be retribution. You shouldn't have to, I mean, in America, yeah, you shouldn't have to fear retribution, but sometimes you got to be as bold as, if you're going to come after me for putting that out, oh well, I'm putting it out. Because this is important.
Of, well, just without fear of retribution. And I think one of the critical...
I would say with or without fear of retribution, you should be able to do journalism. With the fear of retribution and without the fear of retribution. This guy who went, I forgot his name, Soleimani, he went down, he was talking about, the Saudi prince and the Saudi king. He was reporting negative on him. He had to leave the country. But then he went back to the country and they caught up with that guy and chopped him up and put him in the suitcase. That was the length that he's willing to go. He went there to see somebody that he loved. Knowing what he said and knowing there's a fear of retribution, he stood in the face of fear, went there to see the person that he loved, but he ended up losing his life as a result of it. Horrible death. But these people want to do journalism all comfortable. When the mark of a true journalist is, we're going to report the news by any means necessary. The revolution should be televised, but some of y'all didn't televise it because of fear.
Criticisms that they are getting is that they sort of traipsed over to Mar-a-Lago because of their fear of retribution and their fear of losing their ability to of access. And let me just say one final...
Bezos?
Now, you can't speak for these people and why they're going to talk to Trump. You assuming they're going to talk to Trump because they're scared of him and scared of what he may do to them. See, you keep giving this man too much power. He ain't got that power. He is a president. That's it. He is a president. Not every Republican is going to do what he says. The Republicans, one thing I know about Republicans, they pride themselves on the Constitution. And if Trump violate that Constitution, they're going to have a problem with Trump because real Americans, especially Republicans, are going to uphold that Constitution no matter who's in the office. You start going up with that Constitution, we're going up against you. And if we have to face your supporters, we'll face your supporters. But we got to remind your supporters that they're supposed to be upholders of the Constitution. And Trump not letting people have free speech, even in his face, would be a violation of his Constitution. He got to allow it to happen. He may bogart them with his free speech over their free speech, but it'll just be a free speech battle. But you shouldn't be able to be scared to go over there and talk to him as a journalist and report on what he has planned coming up. You should want to go. Look at this lady face. She knows Sonny's saying a lot of crap.
But let me just say one final thing. I think we saw a real blurring of the lines, right, with Sean Hannity's text with then White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows during the insurrection. I mean, Meadows and Hannity exchanged.
She's going to go all the way back to that incident, which Trump hasn't been convicted of. Until there's a conviction, you shouldn't have to bring Trump into this. This got nothing to do. We're talking about liberals like you having the balls enough to confront Trump on whatever it is, whatever gripe you have, whatever negative or positive thing you have concerning Trump. You have the ability to go to him and talk to him in his face. And y'all mad because some people are doing it.
More than 80 text messages between Election Day 2020 and Biden's January 2021 inauguration.
That's
a blurring of the lines.
But that is totally
inappropriate.
He is a partisan activist who's on Fox News, and Sean Hannity's a nice enough guy.
Well, these are opinion journalists as well.
Well, and Joe and Mika, though, they're not texting with the White House Chief of Staff about an insurrection. It just seems like a weird...
Actually, they were also sending text messages.
But I did want to say this on the retribution.
Can I just respond to that? So I do think that they were also exchanging messages because they had that kind of access. And you can have that kind of access like a Bob Woodward's and still uphold the principles of journalism and keep the trust of the people. That is why I think Morning Joe is...
So the principles of journalism is you should be able to talk to anybody. You should be able to go and talk to Putin. You should be able to talk to Kim Jong-un. You should be able to go talk to anybody without fear of retribution and with fear of retribution. You should be able to be bold enough. I remember Anderson Cooper back in the day, and Anderson Cooper now, but Anderson Cooper back in the day used to be on the ground reporting the news, knowing he can end up dying in the middle of the battle, hiding behind soldiers. This rich elite Vanderbilt boy, soy boy, is out on the field reporting journalism in the face of death. And you telling me that you guys can't do that? You can't be bold enough to go talk to Trump? Let's say if he was a dictator and fascist, he wanted revenge on all those who talk about him. You still should be able to go up there and confront him about that. And stop assuming that he's going to do retribution against you. Or assume he is, and go talk to him. That man ain't paying y'all no doggone mind. I'm telling you, look, his mindset is probably like mine. Y'all guys ain't worth me. I don't even consider you guys. I consider you guys just a bunch of old ladies playing bridge, talking about people in the neighborhood. That's all I see.
Down 38%.
Yeah, but I think that simply activism.
So I fully agree. I don't know how people jump from 0 to 60 on this. The second they went down there, every headline was they're kissing the ring, they're bending the knee. If you check in with yourself and say, could I go and have an interview and objectively not be moved because I had a beer with someone, but sit there because I can't unhear what he said, I can't unsee what he's done, can I sit there and talk to him? Because background, as in my experience in news, has always been you do a lot of background because sometimes people won't go on the record. So you do background to go sit down. I've been interviewed on background and I've interviewed on background. That's common. That's not abnormal. It wouldn't be something that Joe and Mika would send a producer down because they did have a relationship. So if you're going to get interviews or talk to the administration, you do go down on whatever terms. Background, not on the record, go down to Mar-a-Lago. Remember when we were talking about Vice President Harris not going to Joe Rogan because he wouldn't come to her? Sometimes people can't go to places.
Well, it wasn't because he couldn't come to her. It was because she couldn't fit into her schedule. But do you think they went down there just for background?
I'm going to take them for their word until I...
She could fit him in the schedule. She just don't want to go to him because he seemed like he was on the side of Trump. And Trump, Joe Rogan ain't really been a Republican. Joe Rogan has always been an independent. I got my issues with Joe Rogan too. I'm not Rob, you got issues with everybody. Yeah. At one time he was a Bernie Sanders supporter. He liked Bernie Sanders' platform. And he talked about that on his show, whether Bernie Sanders was there or not, or whether Bernie Sanders surrogate was there or not. He talked about how he had respect for Bernie Sanders and his platform, and how he think that should be part of the vision for America. But for you to not take time out to go to the #1 podcast in the country, but you'll go to those old ghetto ratchet sex podcasts? Really? You're going to turn down the #1 podcast that even the president, former president, makes time out to go to the Joe Rogan show, and you can't one-up him? You better go. You got to go, or it will mess up your opportunity to win.
I see otherwise, because I think the cynicism of it all is just silly.
These are people who are honestly resistance heroes, and they do one thing and their entire audience is outrage. I think it's, I just have a hard time with that. These are people who have never held their criticisms of Donald Trump in any single way.
No, I like Joe and Mika a lot. They're very nice people. But he was a Republican who encouraged Trump before he turned on him. Now he's turning back again. It's very suspicious.
But where do you say he's turning back again? Joe Scarborough was on Morning Joe as a critic of Trump.
Also, the timing was interesting. He went right down.
Joe Scarborough ain't never criticized Donald Trump. Now, at the beginning, he said, hey, let's give this guy opportunity. A lot of you guys said that. But when he wasn't doing Democratic things, or he wasn't doing things that Democrats thought he should be doing, of course, you're going to get upset and you're going to push back on him, as you should. But the point is, whether you do things our way or not, I still need to report on you. And I would like to have access to you because I need to hear what's in your mind. I don't want to wait to find out before you implement it. You know, you want to know way ahead of time what's going on in Mar-a-Lago, in the White House, before it get outside the White House.
Down there right after the election.
Because he is the story. He's going to be the American president.
You know what
People
I'm
need
not?
to be able to hear from him.
I'm not a journalist.
Neither am I.
Well, I'm going to start with that. Okay, so my feelings about this are very different. I always feel if people feel they need to do something, let them do what they need to do. And I you know, do I think they should have gone? Doesn't matter. They went. And they are explaining. And I don't know why we can't just have somebody say, and this is why I did it. And move on.
Well, they got a lot of blowback.
Yes, I understand. Listen, I understand the blowback, but that is part of my problem.
Yes.
Because we can't get anywhere because everything contains blowback.
Now, I'm not going to go through this whole show. I'm going to stop it once we get off this subject of Donald Trump. But Whoopi, once in a blue moon, making sense. You know. Now, before I close here, I'm going to talk about this Hunter Biden thing and Joe Biden pardoned him.
If you just have right-wingers interviewing Trump and only people who are journalists that support Trump, you're not going to get important stories for the American public.
No, I'm not talking about.
No, I know. I'm just.
Yeah, I'm just saying that they're because you make not you, none of you, but because you make it so hard to say, you know what, I feel like I need to do this for my own peace of mind. For my peace of mind. I know this guy, I didn't like what he did, but I know that I'm going to have to talk about him some more, so let me go down and let these people do what they do.
But isn't there a difference between a talk show host / journal, whatever he was, a former congressman, and an investigative journalist like Bob Woodward? There's a big difference there.
Yes, but
they're there to spew and give their opinions the way we do. Bob is there, Woodward is there.
Yeah, but they have to report the news. They report the news in the morning. They're not just, even though you're considered opinion personalities on TV, you still report the news, and you still got to report the truth, and you still got to report what's going on in America. And if you can get something concerning America from the president himself, then you should take advantage of that offer. Don't mean you got to kiss his behind. I mean, April Ryan wasn't kissing his behind. Him and Trump was very contentious around one another. But at the same time, Trump will tell you, like, I don't hate April. I mean, I just want to be respected. And April will say, I don't really hate Trump. I just want Trump to respect me as a black female journalist.
to get to the truth out of the horse's mouth.
But you do
It's
realize
different.
that we are all, I'm sorry, baby, we're all painted with, and this is why I say I'm not a journalist. We are painted as journalists because people assume that we went to school. I didn't go to school.
But
I didn't.
Well, I would go further
went to some school?
as
You went to
no,
school?
I went
to
to
school to the 8th grade.
No,
All
but
right.
Joy, as I'm a partisan opinion haver. I am not a journalist. I would still meet with any subject that I regularly talk about to ask questions to say,
Yeah.
what are you planning to do on this? What is your commitment on this? Why
Get
did you do
information.
this? To get information
You know,
for the
you're
public.
talking to
That's our
someone who
job.
talks to construction workers
I
on
know,
the
no, you
street
do
about
this.
Trump all the time.
Yells
Yes.
at construction workers.
No, they
No,
yell
that
at
was me. That was me.
That was her.
That was me.
They yell at me, she yells at them.
That was me.
We work together.
Yes, that was me. No, but what I'm saying, Whoopi, in terms of the backlash, there are consequences, to whatever action. And my only point is, when you see that 38% of your audience is saying, wow, that made me feel so uncomfortable, I'm going to turn the channel. I do think that requires a little bit of introspection as to why people are feeling that way. And
They
maybe
may be
lost
feeling,
some
be in
confidence
your
the
feelings
press.
if you're in your feelings, okay? But let people be in their feelings and do what they feel they need to do. Like right now. Right now, I'm in my feelings because I'm being demanded. They are demanding that I go to break.
And we're going to break from there and bring it back to this. So this whole day was Sunny Hostin Day, and we found out some things about Sunny Hostin. Sunny Hostin come from a slave lineage, and the other side of her family come from white Spaniard conquistador slave traders, slave owners, who brought their slaves down to Puerto Rico to continue to build businesses. Sunny Hostin is a very wealthy, I wouldn't say very wealthy, but she comes from a well-to-do background. She went to private school. She's not your normal average sister from Puerto Rican sister from the block. She's not Jenny from the block, from the Bronx. No, she's an elitist. And her mentality is is uppity. How can I say high class? High class. I'm a prosecutor. I'm a former prosecutor. Keyword, you're former. So you can't prosecute nobody no more. You can prosecute them, but it ain't gonna land nobody nowhere. Your opinions on stuff is only your opinions. It doesn't mean anything. It's not the truth. There's no barrel of truth on it, none of that stuff. My main point is where your people from. I see your people from. You are half FBA, Foundation of Black American, according to Dr. Gates, but the other half of you is straight up slave trader, slave owner, and blah blah blah. And that's probably where you get most of your color for. You're 7% Taino, which means way up in the line when those slave traders took advantage of your Taino family, and maybe they didn't. Maybe they married them. Who knows? I don't know. But you don't have to marry somebody when you can just take power over them. And that's where you get your 7% Taino, the real Puerto Rican side of you. Your family is from Puerto Rico. Your mother's side of the family is from Puerto Rico, so that does make you a Puerto Rican by descent based on land. But Taino, no. 7%, that's not enough. I'm real black. My mama black, my daddy black, and that's all I got to say. And my point with Sunny Hostin is Sunny Hostin really needs to kind of calm down. I really believe that she needs to seek some help. I really believe she needs to not talk too much on The View. I believe she's not going to be on there next year because she is way worse than Joy Behar. Way worse than Joy Behar. And you can't even get the president on the show because I got a feeling Sunny will do something to the president thinking she was being a hero. And that's how psychotic she is to me. But these are my own personal opinions. Sunny Hostin, the woman who called black men ignorant, something she said that was foul. I can't remember it. But she had a negative to say about black men who voted for Trump. And a lot of people have that right to say that, but it doesn't make it true. There's reasons why people are leaving the Democratic Party. It ain't got nothing to do with Trump. It got to do with the platform of the Democratic Party and what they're pushing. And real men who are leaders are not going to support that. They're going to, sooner or later, detach themselves away from that, like I have. Don't mean I got to go run to the Republican Party, because that's another plantation that I don't want to be on. But I do understand that I want this country going the direction of faith, hope, family value, traditionalism, and I want that to remain. I want it to remain where the men are respected as leaders and the visionaries of the family, not the mothers, not the family. They're co-visionaries, but they're not the head visionary of the family. They're the side with the man in his pursuit of God's will for their life, not number one, B. Now, I can understand you don't have no man in your life. You have to be whatever you can be for your family to show the vision of the future. And women have been strong in that, especially being the ones who never leave faith like men have. But men have to come back to their proper position, the proper power, and drive the family to the land of glory that God expects them to go, the promised land. And right now, we got too many men that have detached from family, and now we're trying to fight for the family back. We're trying to fight to get our family back on track. And if that means we have to leave political parties to do it, that's what we have to do. It was political parties that detached the black family, that came in between the black male and female, and it still is that political party that's still doing it. And we're going to have to break the cycle and let both of these parties know no more breaking up this family. The black family will reunite. We will be stronger than ever, and we will carry our black family on to God's glory, not man's glory. And I'm Robert Brown with the Bobby Brown Show. I'll holler at you later. Peace. Oh, yeah, I said one more thing about the Hunter Biden case. Well, I'll do that on another video because him pardoning Hunter Biden without pardon all the people who have fell victim to the crime bill, to me, that was unrighteous. And we'll talk about that on the next episode of Bob TV, of the Bobby Brown Show. I'll let you later. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. To support the stream, the information is down at the bottom, paypal.me/$Bob TV NYC. Buy a brother a cup of coffee or whatever. And I'm out of here. Peace.